It's always the silence that cuts deepest. The door doesn't slam, it just closes, quietly, like it's being careful not to leave a mark, like she was careful not to be heard leaving his life. Ayaan doesn't move. He stands in the middle of the small living room, the same room where laughter once spilled like music from her mouth. The air is still, stale with the scent of jasmine and a goodbye that came without warning. His fingers twitch at his sides, not clenched, not relaxed, just there, like they're waiting for something, someone to reach for. Outside the window, the world hums on, buses screeching, vendors calling, children fighting over cricket rules. But inside, time curls inward. Ayaan is an island of quiet in a sea of noise that no longer includes him. There are no tears, just the mug of tea she left half finished, her shawl still hanging by the door, the faint indentation of where she used to sit on the couch, leaning into him, laughing at old Bollywood dialogues. Now it's just fabric and memory. His phone buzzes once, a text from someone asking, "You okay?" He doesn't reply. How do you explain this kind of absence? The kind that doesn't make a sound as it leaves, but takes every part of you with it. He walks to the kitchen without purpose, opens the fridge, closes it, opens it again. The milk is nearly out, the eggs expired. The kind of small neglects that start when the heart begins to falter. He whispers her name once, just to hear how it sounds in the hollow air. Zoya, but even her name feels foreign now, like it doesn't belong to him anymore. The wound is fresh, but no one sees it, not the neighbours, not his friends, not even his mother who says, "You'll be fine, Beta, just eat something and rest." But how do you rest when even your dreams are bruised with her absence? The room is full of her absence, and Ayaan is just a ghost of the man who believed she'd stay. The alarm rings at 5:30 a.m, but Ayaan has already been awake for 20 minutes, lying still in the dark, eyes fixed on the cracked ceiling. Another day, another version of the same silence. He swings his legs over the side of the bed, careful not to wake his uncle sleeping in the next room. The house is small, 2 bedrooms, a leaking kitchen roof, and an overworked inverter that gives up at the worst times. But it's enough. It has to be. In the bathroom mirror, Ayaan meets his own eyes for a fleeting second before looking away. He brushes his teeth with practiced detachment. No music, no morning motivation video, just the hum of the ceiling fan and the sound of water running, like a man washing off pieces of yesterday that never really leave. By 6:15, he's ironing his uncle's uniform. The old man has arthritis now and can't stretch his back like he used to. Ayaan does it quietly, steadily, without thanks. It's not for praise. It's habit. It's duty. He brews 2 cups of chai, adds 1 sugar for himself, none for his uncle, places the thermos gently next to the old man's prayer beads. Then he changes into his delivery uniform. Navy blue shirt, faded black pants, name tag hanging crooked. He checks the list of pickups for the day. 37 orders, mostly food, some grocery runs, a long shift ahead. On the road, he weaves through Karachi's traffic like second nature. The honks, the heat, the chaos, it all blends into background noise. But his thoughts are louder, always louder. He sees couples on motorbikes, a girl resting her head on her boyfriend's back, a man holding his wife's dupatta so it doesn't fly into the wheels. Ayaan looks away, always looks away. During deliveries, he smiles, always smiles. "Sir, please rate me 5 stars. Madam, I waited downstairs as long as I could." No one sees the cracks beneath that smile. No one asks why his eyes never light up. Lunch is a banana and a packet of chips. He eats while waiting for the next order. There's no time or money for proper meals anymore. Not since Zoya left, not since he took over the bills, not since his uncle's lungs started collapsing in the cold months. By night, he's back home, washing his uncle's feet, warming rice, checking the medicine schedule, then sitting at the window with a cold plate in his lap. And sometimes, when the streetlight flickers just right, Ayaan imagines a life where someone is waiting for him. Not out of need, but out of love. But that life, like everything else, exists just beyond the shadow. The radio played old qawwalis in the background, Nusrat probably, while young Ayaan sat cross-legged on the floor, tools scattered around him like a ritual. His father watched from the doorway, smiling behind a chipped teacup, wiping his hands on an oil-stained cloth. "Show me," he'd say, crouching beside him, eyes lit with pride. Ayaan would hold up his invention, a miniature windmill made of scrap wire, bottle caps and cardboard. It didn't spin much, but it moved, and when it did, his father would clap softly, as if afraid to startle the future. "You'll be an engineer, Beta," his father would whisper. "You'll build things the world will remember." And Ayaan believed him. He remembers those evenings, like they were carved in light. Dusty shafts of sunset pouring through the workshop window, the smell of soldering iron and chai, his father's strong hands guiding his. They built things together. Radios, lamps, small fans powered by broken phone chargers. It was magic. But magic, like childhood, runs out. When his father died, a collapsed scaffold at a government site, blamed on worker error. The light dimmed. Ayaan was 16, dreams became bills. University became a second job. And when his mother left a year later, too heartbroken to carry the weight of survival, Ayaan stopped inventing altogether. He tucked the windmill into a shoebox, along with his entrance exam papers and a rejection letter from a scholarship fund that came too late. Now he delivers food to buildings his father might have helped build, concrete structures that know nothing of dreams or fathers who die trying. Sometimes he passes the old workshop, now a car battery store. The window still catches the same sunset, but the light means nothing now. Ayaan doesn't build anymore. By night, he's back home, washing his uncle's feet, warming rice, checking the medicine schedule, then sitting at the window with a cold plate in his lap. And sometimes, when the streetlight flickers just right, Ayaan imagines a life where someone is waiting for him. Not out of need, but out of love. But that life, like everything else, exists just beyond the shadow. The radio played old qawwalis in the background, Nusrat probably, while young Ayaan sat cross-legged on the floor, tools scattered around him like a ritual. His father watched from the doorway, smiling behind a chipped teacup, wiping his hands on an oil-stained cloth. "Show me," he'd say, crouching beside him, eyes lit with pride. Ayaan would hold up his invention, a miniature windmill made of scrap wire, bottle caps and cardboard. It didn't spin much, but it moved, and when it did, his father would clap softly, as if afraid to startle the future. "You'll be an engineer, Beta," his father would whisper. "You'll build things the world will remember." And Ayaan believed him. He remembers those evenings, like they were carved in light. Dusty shafts of sunset pouring through the workshop window, the smell of soldering iron and chai, his father's strong hands guiding his. They built things together. Radios, lamps, small fans powered by broken phone chargers. It was magic. But magic, like childhood, runs out. When his father died, a collapsed scaffold at a government site, blamed on worker error. The light dimmed. Ayaan was 16, dreams became bills. University became a second job. And when his mother left a year later, too heartbroken to carry the weight of survival, Ayaan stopped inventing altogether. He tucked the windmill into a shoebox, along with his entrance exam papers and a rejection letter from a scholarship fund that came too late. Now he delivers food to buildings his father might have helped build, concrete structures that know nothing of dreams or fathers who die trying. Sometimes he passes the old workshop, now a car battery store. The window still catches the same sunset, but the light means nothing now. Ayaan doesn't build anymore. Ayaan watched her from the kitchen doorway. She hadn't said more than a few words since they got there. She hadn't asked for food, but he gave her dal and rice anyway. She ate slowly, methodically, like someone used to measuring each bite. His uncle didn't wake. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Later, Ayaan caught her staring at the wall, not in confusion, but with intent. It was the one covered in old photographs, his father smiling beside a rusted machine, Ayaan as a child holding a toy airplane. Her gaze lingered on that one. "You wanted to fly?" she asked, voice low. Ayaan shrugged. "I wanted to build what flew." She nodded, not smiling. Still could. He didn't reply. He didn't believe it. She curled up on the thin mattress, back to him. He stood at the door longer than he should have, staring at the strange way her fingers twitched in her sleep, like she was clutching something invisible. In the morning, he found her washing the dishes without asking. Quietly, like she didn't want to be a burden, like she already knew the rules of living where you don't belong. "Where are you really from?" he asked. She paused, hands in soapy water, not far, but far enough. Something in her voice cracked then. Not loudly, just a small splinter in an otherwise calm surface. He recognised the sound. It was the same one inside him. They didn't talk much that day, but when he came back from work and saw her gently oiling the hinges of the bathroom door, the same one that had squeaked for years, something in him collapsed a little. Not loudly, just enough to feel it. They were both running, and now, for reasons neither understood, they were standing still, in the quiet ruins of each other. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. The leak in the storeroom ceiling had started dripping steadily onto a rusted tin bowl, each drop echoing through the night like a clock ticking towards something inevitable. Ayaan sat by the window, cup of chai untouched, eyes following the arc of Lena's movements as she folded laundry with quiet precision. She'd been there for 9 days now. 9 days of silence, small repairs, soft questions, and the kind of presence that settles deep into your bones. He hadn't asked again where she was from, but that night she offered it anyway. "My name isn't Lena," she said, without looking up. Ayaan blinked. "What?" She kept folding. "It's Amira." The name meant something to him, vaguely, like something heard on the news once, something royal. He turned to face her fully now. "As in—" "Yes," she interrupted softly, "as in the missing daughter of the late Prince Haris, as in the woman they think was kidnapped 5 months ago." She met his gaze. "I left. On my own." Silence. The kind that doesn't ask for permission to break you. "You're a princess," Ayaan said, voice thin. "Was. I renounced the title when I ran." "Why?" She looked down at her hands. "Because they were arranging my marriage to a man twice my age in exchange for oil rights. Because I wasn't a daughter. I was a transaction." He exhaled slowly, the weight settling in. "And this?" "Me?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Was that part of the escape plan? Her eyes flashed, not with anger, but sorrow. "Number, you were the accident, the one thing I didn't plan for." Her presence lived in the quiet corners, in the freshly oiled hinges, in the way Ayaan now washed his uncle's teacup with gentler hands. He didn't talk about her. Not to friends, not to himself, but something in him had cracked open. Not shattered, just reshaped. 3 months passed. One morning an envelope arrived from the local university, a dusty application he had submitted weeks earlier on a dare to himself, with an attached portfolio of old sketches from his childhood toolbox. He opened it slowly, heart caught between disbelief and dread. Accepted. Full scholarship. Bachelor of Architecture. He stared at the letter for a long time, then folded it carefully and tucked it into his wallet. Not for display, just to keep close. Each evening after deliveries, he would sit on the rooftop with a notebook, sketching buildings that didn't exist yet. Homes with warm windows, staircases shaped like crescents, walls that breathed with light, and on weekends he painted. On the alley wall behind the house, once covered in grime and political posters, Ayaan began a mural. A giant open window, its frame cracked but golden at the edges. Through it, wind-blown curtains and a small windmill spinning in the sun. And beside it, a girl with a shawl, eyes soft but untouchable, walking toward the light. Neighbours watched in silence. Children gathered. His uncle said nothing, just placed a hand on his shoulder one evening and nodded. Ayaan didn't explain what the mural meant. He didn't need to. Healing wasn't loud. It wasn't about forgetting. It was about building again. This time with intention, with quiet boundaries, and with the understanding that some people don't stay, but they still leave something behind worth living for. The hall was brighter than anything Ayaan was used to. Glass chandeliers, silk tablecloths, violin strings humming in the background. He hadn't planned to attend. But the university required student contributors from the architecture department for the charity exhibition, and his mural had been featured in the brochure. He stood near his model display, a community shelter designed with curved walls and rooftop gardens, trying not to feel out of place in a borrowed blazer and scuffed shoes. Then he saw her. Amira. No shawl this time, no disguise. She moved through the crowd with quiet confidence, her posture more upright, her eyes more grounded. She wasn't hiding anymore. Their eyes met, just briefly. But it was enough. She made her way to his corner, stopping beside the miniature model of his wind-powered community shelter. You actually built something, she said, her voice soft but steady. He smiled faintly. Not quite, just the bones. She looked at the model, nodding. You always had the bones. A beat passed. No music, no slow-motion heartbeat, just two people standing in the echo of something that had already passed through them. I saw the mural, she said. He shrugged. It was never really about you. She smiled almost sadly. I know. That's why it meant something. Another pause. I came to thank you, she said finally, for letting me stay when you didn't have to, for not asking for more than I could give. And for leaving when you needed to, he replied. Her gaze softened. I didn't leave because I stopped caring. I know, he said, but you did leave. And that mattered too. There was no bitterness in his voice, just clarity. She nodded slowly. I thought coming back would be harder. It still might be, he said gently. This isn't a beginning. I know, she said. It's an end. A real one. They stood in silence for a few more seconds, both anchored in a new kind of peace. Not perfect, but earned. As she turned to walk away, she hesitated, then reached into her clutch and handed him a folded photograph. He opened it after she left. It was a picture of the old storeroom mattress, clean and folded, beneath the window, and on the windowsill a tiny paper windmill. It wasn't a message, it wasn't a promise, it was just a memory she had carried, and now returned. The new site stood quiet at dawn, just the bare earth for now, outlines marked with chalk, pillars waiting to rise. But to Ayaan it already breathed with life. The community centre wouldn't be grand, Just 2 floors, a library, a classroom, and rooms for those with nowhere else to go. He stood at the centre, blueprint in hand, alone but not lonely. In his pocket was a small marigold, plucked that morning from the alley where his mural still bloomed. Not for ritual, not for tradition, but for remembrance. He knelt by the foundation stone, pressed the flower gently beneath it, then laid the first brick. The scent of earth and dust clung to his hands. He whispered nothing, no prayer, no farewell, just breathe, just presence. In the distance the city stirred, buses starting, vendors setting up. But here, on this ground, there was only stillness. He stood, looked up at the empty sky and smiled, not because he'd moved on, but because he'd moved through. There were no ghosts now, only echoes, and even those had softened. He turned to leave, feet crunching over gravel, his path clear, his back straight. The wind caught the edge of the blueprints in his hand and curled them slightly like wings. And behind him, sealed in the stone and soil, rested a flower that would never be seen, but always remembered, because not all things built with love must be visible.